everyone, and a very good afternoon to you all. Welcome down to Penguin Beach. My name is Jax and I'm going to be your naturalist down here today. And last week you were all asking us about the snakes of Betty's Bay, and today we don't have a snake for you, but what we do have is a cobra lily. So we're going to go have a look at that flower in just a moment. We are a live show and we love to hear from you, so please do send us in your comments and your questions. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter to do that. You can comment on our YouTube channel, but you can also submit your questions via our website. And if you are under the age of 18, you're going to send us an email at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So winter is the flowering season down here in the Cape. And so throughout our winter, we're going to have different plants popping up to be able to show you. One of the very first flowers of winter in the Cape region is the cobra lily. But let's go have a look at the weather first, and then we will come back to this beautiful little iris in just a moment. So it is actually partly cloudy today. For the last couple of days, it's been telling us it's been partly cloudy, but today we've got a nice big cloud bank that we'll go have a look at in just a moment. But we have started the show today in the parking lot and on the road because we wanted to show you this beautiful cobra lily. And this is the lesser cobra lily. So they start to flower now in June. And they get their name because they look like the head of a cobra. So if you look at that top petal over there, if you have a good look, it can somewhat resemble a little snake. And at the moment they are quite a common sight in the area. So hopefully we'll show you a couple of more later on the show. The Fynbos region has quite literally thousands of plants. And throughout the seasons, the different plants change, and as we fire, the plants change. Pretty, it is stunning, isn't it? So we do get asked about what flowers might occur, so I thought we might start the show with this one. And then what we're going to do very soon is we might start to head off and see what else we can find around. We're just spending some time appreciating the beauty of this flower. It's good to have a nice close look. I think often when we see flowers, we appreciate them for only a second and then we carry on. But you can see this is a very complex looking flower.
Hello everyone. My name is Ruwan Grobler. I'm from Lion Sands Game Reserve, and being nominated for the Safari Guide of the Year came as somewhat of a surprise to me. I was very excited and quite nervous as well in the beginning to tackle this task, but it's quite a prestigious event, and it means that you are recognized, and I'm quite happy to be recognized. It means quite a lot to me.
My name is Solomon Lobu. I am working at Singita Kruger National Park I'm very excited today to be one of the guys that have been nominated or selected to participate in the Safari Guide of the Year. I'm an activator. I like studying something, motivating others to become better and positive. I like to focus on the positive sides of the situation.
So I think we are very soon going to start moving along. And what we want to do is we want to take you down to the seashore. So this is one of the roads down here at Stony Point, and I always think the view is really stunning because you go from the fynbos and then you have a really good look at a very moody ocean. Arctic Circle, the answer is very many in fynbos. I can't think of a single one as I say that to you. Byron is definitely the plant expert between the two of us, but luckily I am with you tomorrow. So what I will do is I will actually get a list. I'll look at the Sanby website because they have all of the up-to-date information on the fynbos, and I'll be able to get a nice list of endangered fynbos. There is a lot because fynbos is very particular, so it needs to burn every so many years, and then it also needs to burn at a certain temperature. So if it's too hot, it's a problem. If it burns too frequently, it's a problem. And so what happens then, it results in there being very many species that are struggling with the changes in the environment at the moment. So I'm going to go have a look. Often where we have people living and walking, the land is what we call disturbed. And so the animals that we see, sorry, I'm going to pop into frame for just a moment. The animals that we see here, or the plants that we see rather, tend to be very resilient because they can live in spaces where humans have disturbed them. So we do have our second plant for the day just behind us, but I actually don't want to go into the plant just yet. We'll just give you a quick look, and then I think we'll have a look along the seashore and see what else we might be able to find. So this is very close to Hideaway that we have here. And we're just going to take a slow walk towards Left Wing to see what we can find. It's very quiet on the seashore today, so I think a lot of our penguins are at sea at the moment. But I think we're going to stop just here, and we're just going to take in some of the sights. The tide is very low today. We'll see what we might be able to find. Today we are doing a bit of a walking show, so you might notice that our shots are a little bit shakier than usual. So usually here at Penguin Beach we spend the entire show on a tripod, but today we've gone freehand for a short time. I think we might actually set up the tripod here for a little bit and just spend some time down here in Hideaway. I do always love the contrast because some days there's so much action in this area and on other days there's very little. Monkey Boo Boo, I'm so glad that you enjoy the walking and showing segments. It is nice to be able to almost take you with us on a walk. We're going to do something similar tomorrow on the seashore for World Environment Day. So it's another calm, wind-still day here. Tomorrow is going to be the very opposite. It looks like the wind is picking up quite heavily tomorrow. So it's going to look all very different.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
So I think today is the calm before more stormy weather tomorrow. You can see the sea is also flattened out ever so slightly. David Green, you're asking if the plants in this area stay green all year round. And to a degree, the fynbos does, yes. So fynbos tends to stay quite evergreen. It's definitely a lot more vibrant in our winter months. And in summer, it does start to look a little bit more dull. But the ones that we're seeing on the show, the plants that we see on the show, like the June spinach, is evergreen, so it's green all year round. Leaves tend to be more tender at this time of year. So this is a very good time of year to harvest June spinach. And we'll just give you a view. June spinach is a stabilizer. And so that's why you'll see a lot of it in this area, is because it was actually planted here so that it could stabilize the dunes, which is really great for the penguins nesting and also for other plants to grow, because what this June spinach does, it actually traps the seeds of other plants. And so there's a succession, there's different plants that settle at different times in an area's history. And the colonizers are the ones that settle first, and the June spinach is definitely one of them. And June spinach is actually also a very beautiful plant if you have a very close look at it. So they're supposed to flower later on in the rainy season, and apparently they have yellow flowers, so we'll have to wait for that. But we might actually have a closer look at the leaves of the June spinach. I'm going to walk into frame again. Igor, do you want to look at these leaves or these leaves? These leaves, fantastic. So if you have a look at the leaves look really shiny. And a part of that is actually that they've got almost these tiny little droplets that are stationed on the leaf. So June spinach is something that you can eat. And Igor thinks he's challenging me to eat June spinach. Let me teach you something about eating plants. I've done it a lot. You want to go for the smaller leaves, the fresher leaves. And so what I would do is I would take a new little leaf like that, because that is not going to be quite as tender.
You're not allowed to use your hands. Graze properly.
I'll show you like an adult, like a person first. And it's actually a really nice leaf. It's got a very sort of sour taste to it. Would you really like me to graze, Igor? The things that I have to do for you.
I'm going to show you.
Will you show us on camera, Igor?
I'll show
Okay. I think Igor might just come onto camera and show us that he is in fact a grazer. So I think that we cannot pass down that opportunity. I wasn't expecting this sight today. I'm sure you weren't either.
Okay, you ready?
Okay. I'm doing this. We're doing this together.
Okay, so the fresh leaves are the best, eh?
The fresh leaves, yes.
So, very nice. It is actually quite sour. Very juicy.
It is a very sour thing.
Be nice in a salad.
But that's what I was thinking. This is what I work with every day, Penguin Beaches. He's behind the camera most of the time, but this is what I deal with all the time.
It's actually very nice.
So,
It's got like lightly salted sea spray flavor.
Are you saying no hands? So I can't use my hands to do this.
Okay.
There's bugs on that one. Not what I thought we were going to do today, Penguin Beaches. Not what I thought. Anyway, let's move away from that June spinach. I'm very sorry if that scarred your eyes. We are going to go and have a look at that heartlop's gull, who is perhaps the only sensible creature still left on this seashore. I think Igor and I cannot be classified as sensible creatures after that experience. In reality, you can actually harvest quite sustainably from the seashore.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colors, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So we were just talking about harvesting from the seashore and how it's actually a very sustainable way to eat. Seanak, so that's a really good question. So that cobra lily that we were looking at earlier is actually pollinated. I'm so sorry. I just created a new word. Pollinated by the lesser half-colored sunbird, which I thought was very cool. So those brightly colored flowers are often pollinated by things like sunbirds and sugarbirds. Igor is looking to find the cobra lilies again. That's what's happening. There's also a penguin who's making its way to its nest. And so sunbirds and sugarbirds would pollinate some of the flowers here. And then you also get so many different pollinators in fynbos. You get ants, you get weevils. Apparently weevils are quite important when it comes to pollinating fynbos. Like, I've created a word and now I can't stop saying it. So weevils will pollinate fynbos, ants can pollinate fynbos, mice can pollinate fynbos. And so this is an extremely complex ecosystem. And a lot of that work is still being done. There's still so many plants that they don't know who pollinates them. And so extensive work is being done by people that Byron used to work with. There's also different bees in the fynbos that can also pollinate different plants. But you'll see where the cobra lilies are growing, it's in between the June spinach. So the June spinach provided a place for them to settle. Sally, so in flowers, red and orange actually helps to attract. So when you are a red and orange flower, what you're actually doing is you're begging for something to come and pollinate you. So those colors are very attractive to things like sunbirds. So you'll see a lot of the plants that are pollinated by birds have this very bright coloration. With bugs and frogs and many sea creatures and sponges, they are poisonous or toxic. So it's best if you do see anything that is a frog, a bug, or anything in the ocean that's very colorful, don't touch it, don't eat it. It's not very good for you. But with these flowers, I was reading about them and I didn't find anything about these particular flowers, the cobra lilies, being poisonous. They're also not used in any sort of medicinal capacity. There's actually very little information about this particular iris. And you'll see that with a lot of flowers, actually, because there are just so many, there's often just very little information that we can find. But the other flower that I wanted to have a look at, and we'll still have a look at later on, which is called an arum lily, is in fact very poisonous, so should not be eaten. But we're not going to go to that just yet. I think we are going to have a look at a little penguin who is walking along the shore. I want to see where this penguin goes, where this penguin might call home.
All things bright and beautiful, all creatures great and small, all things wise and wonderful. WildEarth will see it all. Each little flower that opens, each river that does flow. Join us to celebrate World Environment Day for a very special safari show. We want to hear from our WildEarth kids this World Environment Day. You are the future protectors of our planet, and we want to help you understand what needs to be preserved.
We saw a termite mound. We got to see a lot of unique animals. Some trees are male and female. That's pretty cool, right? A whole lot of different creatures.
It was amazing that we could ask questions.
Kids, send in your questions for our special World Environment Day safari on June the 5th.
It was so cool.
So we were looking at a penguin, we are now looking at some kelp. And this kelp washed up, I think it was a couple of months ago after a very big storm. So you can see it's degraded quite a lot, it's dried up. In some areas in South Africa, they actually collect kelp, dried kelp off the beach, and then they turn this kelp into a fertilizer. But ecologically, it's very good to leave kelp on the beach because it leaches nutrients back into the soil. And so it doesn't look all that pretty, and it's not very nice to stand on, but everything in nature serves a purpose, even if it might not seem like it. That penguin is going to hop from the dune spinach into the path, so we're going to take a moment and see if we can actually watch him do it. So from where I am, I can just see a black and white head.
Yeah, it's just hidden from the camera.
Aaron's Arcade. The penguin is almost coming towards us. No, he's going to his nest. You're asking me to describe some of the smells. I always find this really difficult because I love doing it, but I find it really hard. The kelp has a particular, like a kelpy shoreline has a very particular smell. And it's a very wet, cool smell. I can't smell a thing right now. It's a cold, like on the Cape Coast, it's a very cold smell. It's a very salty smell. It's not woody. Igor, can you help me? Do you have words that you might describe the smells of the seashore?
I think if the smell of a decomposing fish smelled like a vegetable, that's what it would smell like.
So Igor has gone for the most unromantic description in TV history. I would disagree. I don't think it smells rotten.
Well, not this kelp, but I mean, you get some of those kelp beds that are just these absolute piles of rotting mush.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes. But what are you smelling right now, Igor?
Right now, a bit of... It's a little bit, we have a little bit less of the coastals or the sea smells coming through because we have an offshore wind blowing at the moment. But I would definitely say I can smell something that smells like wet nori. I think that's a good way to compare it, with a slight sea breeze, salty smell to go with it.
So very interesting. So that's a pretty relatable one. If you've ever had sushi, he thinks it smells like the nori in sushi, like wet nori. Yes, the kelp attracts a lot of flies. So there is a kelp fly that actually lays its, it sounds very gross, but it lays its eggs, and then the maggots feed off of the kelp. And it was not a month ago, just a bit less, when we had a full moon. Jason and I were down here and inundated by flies. And it's because they actually breed on the full moon cycle, which is, I think, pretty incredible. So we're not seeing those kelp flies at the moment, but it's likely that on the next full moon we'd see a lot more of them. Oh. It's okay. It's okay.
As our global WildEarth family grows, we know that many of you struggle to get your questions answered during the live safari. Going forward, we will be holding AMAs for our WildEarth explorers on a regular basis. The first is with our resident leopard whisperer, Tristan Dix.
Join me for an AMA on the 8th of June, straight after the Sunset Safari. This will be your chance to ask me anything you like. All you have to do is sign up to be an explorer, and you can meet me here on Juma with your questions ready.
To celebrate World Oceans Day and create awareness for the role that the oceans play in everyday life, WildEarth has some brand new Dive Live merchandise in our shop. T-shirts, sweatshirts, bags and even caps. So take the plunge, head over to our shop and see what you can find. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So we were having a look at these beach hoppers, but I think Igor has spotted something. Ah, that's what he spotted. Igor loves to play this game where he tries to communicate with me, but the way that he does it is that he completely stops communicating, and we just stare at each other for 5 minutes until one of us eventually gets frustrated and then says something. But he has found the crazy eights in Mark and Cleo. So it looks like they are coming in down from Jacuzzi side, and we know that they actually live closer to Jacuzzi, so they live over the hill where the aloes are, and we will do the aloes perhaps not this week but very soon. I can't believe how big these chicks have gotten. Looks like they might be coming in for some food in the left wing. It is lovely to watch them swim now at this size. When they first got into the water, they would get absolutely smashed by the waves in this area next to the slipway. But I think that these little ducklings have really mastered the ocean now, and they look very, very comfortable. Both Mark and Cleo are a lot more relaxed with them now. When they were first out of the nest, they were attacking the seagulls, they were attacking the penguins. But I think that they're quite confident that they've raised their chicks to an age and a stage where they don't need to be quite so protective. And it's very rare that you'll see the Egyptian geese in the water by themselves. I see it in harbours a lot more that are closed off and the water's very protected. It's not often that we'll have the adult Egyptian geese just enjoying the ocean. They do tend to swim a lot more when they have their chicks with them, which I find very interesting. They've really picked up speed. So you can see Mark and Cleo are actually leading the way now. And the crazy eights are fairly far away, but following. And behind them, they're all leaving a little bit of a wake, which is very cute. So you can see where they're parting the water. So Heather, Egyptian geese actually eat both. So was that in the frame? So there was a fish that just jumped out in front of it's in front of us and behind the geese. That was very strange. So these Egyptian geese eat algae, but we've seen them eat the beach hoppers and the sea slaters. And I think that just because there are so many little invertebrates along the seashore, a lot of animals that would typically not eat the protein, I think just can't resist it because it's here and it's available. So they will eat little bugs and snails and things, but they're better known for enjoying algae. That should be, I think, what they're more famous for eating. And they're heading into where breakwater is. They're hiding in between the kelp.
We only have one Earth. This phrase highlights the challenges of collective action between nations. It emphasizes the great test of our time. Achieving environmental change cannot be met by countries acting alone. Head over to the WildEarth shop to buy your Only One Earth merchandise and create awareness for global change this World Environment Day. Are you a fan of the Djuma clan? If the answer to this is yes, then you are cordially invited to our hyena hullabaloo starting on the 13th of June. During this week, we want to take a trip down memory lane. Please send in your favorite Djuma clan moments to hyena@wildearth.tv by the 7th of June, and we will dig into our archives and try our hardest to play it out during this week of hyena celebrations.
It's really cute watching these goslings hang out in between the kelp. And typically we actually see them in open water. I've not seen them spend time in between the kelp plants. I think the kelp can be quite inconvenient when you're in the water. As a land animal, I know that swimming in between thick kelp at the surface is not always my favorite activity. They seem to be hanging out there for a short time. And these ducklings are only about a month old. I think we first saw them on Earth Day. So perhaps that's more than a month old now. That's 6 weeks. So, Gabby, they leave their parents after a few months. So our last set of ducklings, the browns, I believe, left after about 3 months or so. It takes them 3 to 5 months to get their full adult coloration. Or perhaps was it less than 3 months with those chicks? I know that at 3 months they start to come into their adult colors really nicely. But you know what I'm going to do, because my brain has actually hit a blank, so I will get the proper answer for you tomorrow. My head is telling me 3 months, but I'm not entirely convinced of it right now. But I do know that they get their final adult colors at about 5 months, because that spot on the chest, the caul, which is how they get their Afrikaans name, comes in at about 5 months old. But I suspect they might leave slightly earlier as soon as they get their adult feathers. I really can't believe how calm and quiet this area is today. I actually just want Eagle just to pan over Stony Point and Penguin Beach, and you'll see there's just so little life. which might sound like a bad thing, but it in fact is just very peaceful and very lovely. And I do always wonder when this happens, where are the animals and what are they doing? What have they found that we don't know about? But I see Igor's favorite character down here at Penguin Beach, the little egret. And the tide is nice and low for us today. So this egret is hunting fish in the rock pools. It's just ducked its head down behind some of the rocks. We'll see if it pops back out again. So now we are just showing you some beautiful seashore rocks. And it's quite funny because here the rocks are very low. And where we do a lot of our rock pooling in this area, we have these beautiful tall rocks. So Arctic Circle, you've just asked a question about mange, but I didn't quite catch it, so I'm just going to ask our director Sammy just to repeat that question for me. I have seen mange on seals. I will say that while we wait, there was one particular little seal that I saw years ago that looked super mangy. Arctic Circle, I'm going to go have a read about that. I don't believe it's mange, like the mange we see on animals, but I'm sure that there must be some sort of bacterial infection that they get that eats away at feathers. I'm sure that there's something like that that must exist. I feel like it would exist more commonly in domestic birds when you have lots of birds together. But I'm going to go have a look because that's really interesting. Ooh, did he catch something? So we're with the little egret. Those pools are so small. I think the only thing left in those pools would be clipfish.
Find a way into the kill to eat, get their fill in there as well. But they're also going to be told off. See, lions are not great at sharing their food. Let me just taking frustration out on the other lion, but you see it was interesting.
This morning we were driving and suddenly we heard a lot of commotion. I think the wild dogs might have caught an impala then, or the leopard might have caught the impala, and as it was dragging it, the wild dog saw it, started chasing the leopard up into the tree, and then the hyenas came to steal it. But what an incredible sighting.
So this little egret was just foot trembling. So we'll see if he does it again. The egret was shaking its foot in the water, and sometimes they will do that to displace anything that is in the water. So if foot trembling happens, it might attract something like a clipfish to see if there's maybe something to eat. Or just the movement of feet can sometimes spook little creatures in the intertidal zone. So we'll have a look at this egret. He's still in the very shallow water pools. I think it's easier for them to fish when there's slightly more water in here, because then they've got the little schooling fish. And you can see where the egret is walking, we've got lots of algae, and where there's lots of algae, it means we have very few limpets. The reason we might have few limpets there is because I believe the oyster catchers are having too much fun eating the limpets off this rocky shore. That's a really interesting question. So the question is what plant at Stony Point might be able to be used as medicine for the skin? I would say, Eagle's going to have to do some serious zooming. I would say we've got some aloe up on the rock face there. So we're going to see if we can get the aloes in. So just off the top of my head, aloe is really good if you've burnt your skin. I used to break off a lot of aloe growing up for little cuts and things because I thought that I was Sheena the bush princess. So aloe is really good. It's very topical. So you can put it, I think it also helps with infection. So that would be one of the plants that I can think of. I'm trying to think of what else. The other plant that we're hoping to show you, the arum lily, can be used topically for headaches apparently. So the plant itself is poisonous, you shouldn't eat it. But when I was reading about it this morning, or in some cultures what they do is they actually use the leaves almost as a gauze and they'll put it on somebody's head. And apparently that might help with headaches and things. So those are the two that I can think of. I can't think of any medicinal purposes for June spinach. But I will try to have a read and see if there is anything else that might serve that function. The medicinal uses of plants are extremely interesting. I think since I have worked at sea, I haven't read all that much about it, but I do know that in the sea with sponges, that there's a lot of medicinal uses in sponges that are yet to be explored.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best. And the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
And Eagle has to show us where this plant is that he is talking about. So Leah 13, you're asking about kelp and how it breeds. So how kelp reproduces, and kelp reproduces using spores. So the kelp will release spores into the ocean, and then with those spores, there is some sort of sexual reproduction there. So I think the spores are released, into the sea, and then I know that they settle. The baby kelps will actually settle on rocks. So it's not like what you would have with a flower, where you would have a fruit, and then the fruit would disperse seeds. And they've got spores on the leaves, and those would be released into the ocean. And then those little spores will go and settle on other rocks, because kelp does need to grow onto something. And I just want to see where Igor has taken us and what plant he's talking about. So I think we've had a very plant-focused day today. Although we have had a couple of penguins and we had that little egret about. And we are going to have a look at Igor's plant in just a moment. We'll have a look at the sea so long. Arctic circle, so I think that there might be plant families that you would find in both Canada and South Africa. There's nothing I can think of. Like I said before, plants are not something that I've actually studied in depth in my guiding career. But I am pretty sure, because if you look at a lot of your families, so I'm actually looking at some daisies at the moment, and daisies I think I'll find not almost worldwide, but in very many countries in the world. So I think if I look at the flower families, you'd quite easily be able to isolate different families that are found in all areas of the world. I think daisies would be one of the most common families, and something that you would certainly find in many places. But Arctic Circle, it just means that we have a lot of unanswered questions to tell you guys tomorrow in between our World Environment Day shenanigans. But you'll see with a lot of your life, so even with your sea life and with your birds, you will have animals of the same family.
In that tree are two carcasses. There's a duiker carcass and a waterbuck. Well, it's not as graceful as... He's a bit hesitant because, well, climbing a tree is not the easiest, but he will get up there eventually. So let's see, there he goes. And look at the power in that. That is a massive 500-pound cat that has just climbed the marula tree and is up in there. How cool is this?
I don't know how he's going to do it, but let's see.
See, the hyenas are far more tolerant of vultures than a lion or leopard would be. Occasionally a hyena will bite sort of a couple of tail feathers out of the back of a vulture, but I've never actually seen them, even once they've caught one, actually kill it. Oh, there we go, nearly got him.
So this crown cormorant is sitting on the rocks surveying the area. And I think it's the cormorant species that we're most likely to encounter away from the actual Stony Point colony. You can see they've got a really nice long tail. And I was just talking about cormorants and talking about the fact that in many countries you get shags, which are cormorants essentially. They're part of the same family. You do get some shags in Canada. I think you do get shags in the US, and I know New Zealand they've got them. So they're a fairly widespread grouping of birds. And so I think the way that the world works is most of your animals and plants that we have today have come from common ancestors and then branched off into different species. And remember that the world was also once one sort of big mush of land, and then things became isolated. There was continental drift. So Annie is asking if you see many orchids around. Orcas. Okay, I can answer orcas much more than I can answer orchids. If it is... Sorry, I think it's very funny because the one I know a lot about, so the other I know very little. So if it is orchids, the pretty little flowers, we do have orchids in the fynbos, and they are delicate and beautiful. If it is the orca, as in the killer whale, Orcinus orca, then actually Betty's Bay do occasionally see. There's two particular orcas called port and starboard who often come by close in the coast here. So orcas in South Africa are what we call transient, so we don't have any resident orcas like you would have off the coast of the US, where you have the southern residents. Our orcas are transient. We have orcas that really like to eat the common dolphins, so we can see that very commonly in April and May. I say commonly, you might get a couple of sightings in a year, so it's always very special in South Africa when we see orca. And then we have orcas now who are eating sharks, so they really like the great white sharks, they eat the seven-gill sharks, they eat the bronze whaler sharks, and those orcas are being seen a lot more commonly now than what they were 10 years ago. So it started with two boys called port and starboard. They both have collapsed dorsal fins, one to the left, one to the right, and they've been seen hunting great whites, and, or not seen, but it confirmed that they are great white hunters. They've been seen hunting a bronze whaler shark. And recently, we've also started to notice that other sharks, or other orcas rather, have started to do the same thing along the coast. They could be deep sea orcas that have always eaten shark, and they've come in from the deep sea to eat sharks along our coast.
Hyena and hippo walking side by side, terror etched on the expression of little hippo. Look at this! Last mad dash! Hyena running along beside it. Baby hippo, jaws gaping. It's gonna make it. It's gonna make it. It did it. The baby hippo against all odds.
If you are a Wild Earth explorer, we have exciting news for you.
The winner of this month's prize giveaway will win a hamper full of Explorer merchandise.
Like this fantastic t-shirt that comes in plenty of great colors, a very useful tote bag, or even a cap.
For those in the southern hemisphere that's heading into winter, a sweatshirt to keep you warm.
Head over to the WildEarth Explorers page. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer, and you could win all of these goodies.
WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So often everybody gets really interested in going for elephants or for leopard, but today it looks like Cedric, Rexon and Chris all have different plans. So I think you're going to have a fantastic time on safari. Hopefully you do get some spots out there. Very curious to see what else Cedric and Chris will find for you. Honey Badger, I'm glad that you enjoyed seeing the flowers. You've all given me lots of homework, but that's a good thing. We like homework. And we didn't get to do our arum lilies today, but we are going to be doing a lot more flowers as we go into winter. So we are going to do arum lilies before Igor and I are done this week. We'll make you a pinky promise. I'm going to make Igor make me a pinky promise now. Oh, he wants us to do it on camera so that we have evidence. There we go. We pinky promise you that we will do the arum lilies for you and find you some more flowers as winter goes along, but the arum lilies definitely before Wednesday. And so many unanswered questions about medicinal uses for plants and endangered plant species. So you are helping me learn about the fynbos and all of these lovely land plants that I've neglected.
I got so excited to talk about the cobra.
And Igor would like to tell you, Igor has 4 minutes to tell you about a plant he'd really love to tell you about. So I think we'll quickly...
Okay, you want to do this time?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it today. Igor's going to finish off the show, giving you the eagle-guided experience to tell you about, it's a fig, you say?
Mm-hmm. So you see this little triangular leafed shaped succulent? Look over here.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we call, in Afrikaans, we call it a vygie. It's part of a succulent family. The entire genus is called the Cormorants genus. Most of the species are endemic to South Africa. You get some that are not. Oh, but I actually just spotted something else. What's this?
So Igor has now found something a lot more interesting.
Did you see that?
No.
Okay, there's something.
What do you see?
There was something moving in there. Anyway, so this is also called a sour fig, so you can eat the fruits. So I think in Latin, carpo means edible and brotus means fruit, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. But also, the leaves are chewed for various stomach problems, and the leaves, when they're nice and fat from lots of rain, you can actually crush them and rub that gooey substance inside, very similar to an aloe. You can rub that on your skin for anything from cracked lips, sunburn, blue bottle stings, light jellyfish stings, all those kinds of things.
That's really cool, Igor. Very,
and
very
the fruits
cool
are also
to learn.
very tasty.
So I think we finished off our show with Igor teaching everybody something. So I didn't realize, I think you've actually mentioned it to me before on a walk. I think we walked somewhere together once and Igor told me about this vygie and I completely forgot. So thank you so much for enlightening us. It's a really interesting plant and it's nice to know on the seashore when there are blue bottles and things about. Always good to know what might help remedy a sting. So I think we've had a very different show today, very few penguins about, but we hope that you guys had a fantastic time. Tomorrow, World Environment Day, we are doing a seashore show for you, so that's going to be lots of fun. We want as many questions from the kids as we can possibly get. And then on behalf of Igor and I, thank you so much for spending your Saturday afternoon with us. We will see you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of it, and let's spend our last couple of moments just looking at the ocean. Thank you so much, everyone.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.